Hello, welcome to another episode of the Godfather Minute with me, Alex Robinson.
And also with me, Andy Robinson.
And together, we're going to explure the world of the Godfather. One minute at a time.
Part 2.
Godfather Part 2, yes, you're right. I just think of them as one sort of saga, one sort of epic.
Just one continuous saga.
Exactly. It's like having to differentiate za and za.
If they ever do a prequel, but just the story of Joey Zaza, they'll do it in 3 parts, and I'll call it Joey Zaga. Tell us about minute 31, Alex.
Well, first of all, Numero 31.
Oh, you're close.
Oh, what?
It kind of blends a little. 31.
31.
You got it.
Okay. That was close.
All right. 31.
I guess that would like be saying if I said like saying 31 as opposed to 31.
Usually in Italian it's equivalent to 30 and 1, 30 and 2, but for some reason I think because it's a diphthong they blend the vowels. It's 31.
Yeah.
31.
Anyway, so yeah, minute 31. I was going to go into a whole second sidebar about languages and stuff, but
it's a good minute, Alex.
Yeah,
it's a good minute. I can't wait.
Let's get to it. Anyway, Frankie Five Angels, Frankie Five Foreheads, and Mikey are in the Don's office where the Capo regime is complaining about a recent deal with the Rosato Brothers. Mikey tells Frankie he's a good old man and that he likes him. Yeah, I figured I didn't even go into the specifics of it because this is one of those kind of like line by line sort of situations where every line is like, well, wait a minute, what does that mean?
Yeah, we've been waiting for this minute for years, Alex.
Yes.
I like how
we should do it now while we got the minute.
I like how the first 4 seconds of the minute are the residual emotions from Mikey telling Fredo, hey, you don't have to apologize to me. It's just Fredo all humiliated.
Yeah, you're technically correct. That is actually the beginning of the minute, but I figured since it didn't have any impact. But yeah, it definitely, it's like, George Lucas always said people would make fun of his dialogue, and he would say dialogue doesn't matter. It's like what people like about the movies are the sound and the visual things. So that's your primary. Like if you get that part right, all the rest of it doesn't really. Interesting. So.
What do you think?
I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, I think perhaps that's the reason I think the best parts of Star Wars tend to be the silent parts, where it's like a striking image or like there's a sequence where there's no, it's just, anyway, so that image of Fredo with Mikey really conveys Fredo's. It's a one-shot thing where you can, even if you don't speak the language that they're speaking, that Fredo's steaming.
Yeah, oh yeah.
A steaming bowl of Fredo.
Clues planted along the whole saga about how Fredo is really discouraged.
Yeah.
And that was one of those. Hey, speaking of sidebars, I'm going to drop one on you really quickly.
Whoa.
Watch out. Look out. Sidebars falling. You should wear a hard hat to this podcast. So there's this YouTube video I watched. It's I forgot the name of the speaker. I apologize. But he comments in it saying that most communication is not verbal. It's
right,
and we've heard this before. But what I learned is because it was developed over thousands of years before humans could speak, we developed the means to.
Wait, language was developed before we could speak?
No, gestures, facial expressions.
Yeah. We communicated through nonverbal before we communicated verbally.
So thousands and thousands of years. So still, that is more. Yeah, it's more deeply seated in the way we communicate.
Yeah, totally.
Rather than the word. So maybe George Lucas had something going there.
Yeah. Yeah, so you had a sidebar, or that was
it. That was the sidebar.
Okay,
yeah.
So getting to the actual minute, I like the way it starts. It's when they cut to the office, obviously, because you could tell that they've already been discussing things to the point where when it starts, Mike's already kind of like raising his voice a bit, like emphasizing like Clemenza made a deal with the Rosato brothers and so on and so on.
Yeah, you don't see the whole.
You don't see him like walk in and do the polite introductions.
Well, they had to cut all that out because Tom was probably like, Frankie Five Angels, you're up now. And he's drinking out of the hose. And Cheech has to go find him. By the time he gets there, they've got someone else in line. So Frankie's to wait again.
Oh, so you think that's one?
It would have been another 40 minutes.
You have to go all the way back in the line?
Back of the line.
Oh, my God. He's got to go to the back of the line. So just as a reminder, the Rosato Brothers so I looked up the Rosato Brothers because anyway, so in real life they're based on the real life the Gallo brothers. I think we've mentioned that before. Well, I love their nicknames: Albert Kid Blast Gallo and Joey Crazy Gallo.
Oh,
which one of those nicknames would you rather have, Kid Blast or Crazy?
Crazy?
Yeah. Oh, that's good. I'll take Kid Blast.
Yeah. Kid Blast.
So, according to the Godfather wiki, the Rosato Brothers, back in the day, were their own thing, and they kind of came under Clemenza. But that, like, they were backed by Hyman Roth.
Yeah.
So it's almost like I was trying to think of a good analogy as to what they're.
It's like Vietnam, the North Vietnamese and the South Vietnamese.
Well, what do you mean? Who's who in that situation?
The South Vietnamese it really doesn't matter, but it's the Corleones backing one group, and so it's the Americans backing one group and the Soviets backing another group.
But the Rosato brothers are within the Corleone family.
I guess they are the family itself
because they're under Clemenza, and Clemenza is under. So it's I was thinking of it almost more like, and oh my gosh, it's so funny now that you mention it, that you could think of it as like a nation where the Corleones have this land that through one way or other came under them, but that is really like, it's almost like Quebec. Like there's all those French people, and I know they're not really French, but it's almost like a holdover of, it's almost like France funneling money into Quebec rebels to get them to make trouble in Canada. So that's kind of what I think it's like.
Yeah.
Where it's like they're not like especially loyal because they came in through Clemenza. They're not like super loyal to Mike. They're just kind of like their own little side thing or whatever.
Yeah.
So
yeah. But they still do use the Corleone name, and that's part of the beef in this minute.
Well, but I don't think. I think Frankie is much more of a traditional capo regime.
Yeah. Like
he's loyal to Mike and so on.
Yeah.
So here's the question: is why would Clemenza?
Well, so let's for our listeners, let's talk about what the deal was.
Yeah.
So that section starts. Mikey says, Clemenza promised the Rosato brothers 3 territories in the Bronx before he died.
Yes.
And when you took over, you didn't give it to him.
I welched. You welched.
You welched.
I love that line. It's such a like not. It's not a necessary thing story-wise because he could just go and you didn't give it to them, and he's like, "Listen, Clemenza promised him nothing." But for some reason, I like that little like I welched. Yeah. It sounds like an improvised sort of line.
Yeah, it's very real.
Yeah,
it's like a sparring kind of thing. Like I welched. You welched.
Yeah, so that's the deal.
Then he says Clemenza promised them un gat.
Yeah,
which is like nothing.
And then he says like, "Oh, sorry." Like, he does the Worf thing of saying the word in Klingon first, and then doing another line, basically translating it for the.
He promised them nothing.
He promised them tutach,
which is nothing in New York Sicilian.
So yeah, that's basically the.
He promised them nothing. Good day, sir.
And then so then should we just do that chunk and then we'll do the next chunk?
Well, why don't we say the whole thing if we could do it, and then Frankie and then Michael says they feel cheated.
Yeah.
And then that's when
he says like, "Oh, you're living up here in the Sierra Mountains, and you don't know
living up here high in the Sierra Mountains, drinking.
What's he drinking?
Cheech. What's he drinking?
That's what he says. And Cheech says champagne. And he goes champagne cocktails. Why?
Ding, 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 ding. We'll get to that.
Okay. Yeah. So he says that, and then he says,
Mikey-
"Oh, and you're telling me how to run my family."
Yeah.
And then Mikey's like, he says, "Me." Does he say me? Like me?
He says your family.
Oh, he says your family. Okay.
He says and then in Sicilian he says your family still
Like it's the Corleone.
He says
Yeah,
Corleone.
you
You'll run it like one.
Yeah. And then he gets up and.
Well then no then.
Oh yeah. Then he says like, "Oh, I don't eat in Las Vegas. I don't eat in Las Vegas."
All right. Yeah, I don't eat here. I don't eat in Las Vegas, and I don't eat in Miami with Hyman Roth.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's when Mikey walks over to him and says a really interesting line, which we'll get to. He says, "You're a good old man, and I like you."
Yeah. All right, so that's the basic gist of it.
Yeah.
So starting at the beginning, why would Clemenza?
Yes. Why would he promise the Rosato brothers 3 territories after he dies?
Maybe getting back to the Hyman Roth thing, that was like they said to him, they were like, "Clemenza, Hyman Roth's offering us a great deal.
Mm-hmm.
Like, can you sweeten the deal? Can you give us those 3 territories in the Bronx?" And then Clemenza's like, "No, I can't do that. How about this? After I die, you'll get them.
Yeah,
that's an incentive for you to stay in the family and so on." So, but yeah, that's
very odd.
But it's just odd that given that the Rosato brothers seem like they're not like a loyal part of the Corleone family. Clearly,
yeah.
So
when I first heard that line, Mikey said, "Clemenza promised the Rosato brothers 3 territories in the Bronx after he died." Mm-hmm. I connected the after he died with he promised him. In other words, he died and then he made the promise.
Oh, like a ghost. Well, you know why? Mrs. Clemenza.
Oh.
She's like, "Oh, I have a message from Peter."
Yeah.
You have those 3 territories.
It's notarized. It means he really did mean this.
What do you think? Pretty good, huh? I mean, the writing, it's pretty good, right? It's funny, snappy. So the other weird thing is that the Rosato brothers also, in addition to being allied with Hyman Roth, are allied with Philip Tatalia's younger brother. Mm-hmm. So it's even more of a weird reason like that. That they would be part of the family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I'm confused by how there.
You're confused?
How there could be disagreement about whether or not Clemenza promised them this. It seems like the truth would be known by Michael and Frankie Five Angels. So is one of them lying?
I think that's what Frankie is suggesting.
But Michael. Is Michael lying or is Frankie Five Angels lying? Or you're saying that Frankie Five Angels is saying that the Rosato brothers are lying?
I think that I'm going to guess that at this point, Mikey is trying to stay out of as much mob business, as much of the crime part as he can.
Yeah.
So like he's just like, handle it. You know what I mean? Like I don't need more. I need more lawyers. I don't need more tough guys.
Yeah.
This is between you and the Rosato brothers. I just want peace. I'm trying to work on bigger things here. I don't want this turning into a bunch of mustache Pete's ruining the deal for us.
I don't want my business disturbed. So we also see this in GF3 later when Mikey is like, "What does this have to do with me?"
Yeah, exactly.
The whole Joey Zaza thing.
So
what does this have to do with me? I don't have stones in my shoes. I don't even wear shoes. Hoo-ha.
So so there's some odd wheelings and dealings, and I guess it could also show that without Mikey's. Part of the problem with Mikey's plan about turning the family legitimate is that brackish period where there's still crimes going on and you're like half in both worlds.
Yeah.
So how do you
well, every time he tries to get out, Alex, what happens?
They no, I know it. He could have been a contender.
No, come on, try again. What happens every time he tries to get out?
Every time he tries to get out, they put baby in the corner.
Hoo-ha.
Hoo-ha.
No one puts hoo-ha in the corner. No, the real answer is every time I try to get out, the ghost of Clemenza promises the Rosato brothers 3 more territories in the Bronx. So moving on. So the next line, which we didn't say earlier, is Frankie says, Clemenza hated those sons of bitches more than I did.
Yeah.
Which I really like.
Oh, well,
Which I didn't think was possible. Because
Yeah.
Frankie Five Angels hates the Rosato brothers. So do you think it's true that Clemenza hated them even more?
I don't know. I mean, I guess it's weird that that there's, like you said, there's no proof. There's no.
Yeah, it just seems odd.
Like, you think, does Clemenza have a consigliere? Like, do capo regimes have, like, they must have, like, a sort of number one to do all, like.
Yeah, probably.
give commands
I don't know if
to
they're called consigliere, but it's probably a lieutenant or someone.
So obviously you think Clemenza would have had a lieutenant who would say, no, this is not true, but that seems to be what Frankie Five Angels is. So it seems like it seems like if you're Mikey, you're taking your third, you're taking your loyal guys. You're taking the word of a barely loyal person over the word.
Well, we find out later he has to,
because of the deal.
He doesn't want the deal messed up with Hyman Roth.
So Roth, man, he played this one beautifully.
Yeah.
He knew just when to apply the pressure, and just that he knew that Mikey could not fight back because it would sour the deal. Oh.
This would have been a good moment for Tom to walk in. Frankie Five Angels, we have no evidence that
You'll have to go before Mikey and show cause. All right, let's.
Tom, you're out.
Yeah, so that's also the reason why they think that when they're saying, "Oh, that was no heart attack," they think he was killed by the Rosato brothers.
Yeah, that's right.
Through their agents.
Roth does play it beautifully.
Yeah.
So Frankie starts to. It's a short monologue. He says, "Mike, you're here." Sitting up high in the Sierra Mountains. He's such a showboat. I love it. High in the Sierra Mountains drinking, what's he drinking, Cheech?
Champagne.
And Cheech isn't even, he's ready for that question. It's almost as if they rehearsed it. Cheech's like, champagne.
Well, yeah, that to me seems like...
That was very quick.
Maybe it was earlier in the evening. I'm sure Frankie was doing some version of this to Cheech about, like, kind of almost getting himself worked up about going, they're up here in the mountains, and
yeah, he's got me waiting in the lobby. They're drinking champagne.
No, he's like, they're drinking beer, and Cheech is like, don't use beer, go with something higher up.
He finally got it right.
You got me drinking out of a hose out there.
Yeah. You're drinking champagne out of a hose. No, Frankie, he's not.
So
no, that was no hose.
Is that why Frankie was drinking out of the hose, to like be as opposite of drinking champagne as possible? Look at me, I'm drinking out of a hose.
Yeah. Don't tell me how to drink water. Don't try and tell me how my family drinks water. Yeah, I really like Cheech's response. He's just so cool. He's cool. He's a cool guy.
He's cool.
Yeah.
Cool Cheech. Cool Willie Cheech.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if I was him, I would have been like, I don't know. I feel like I would have been more like, I don't know. What are you drinking, Mike? You know what I mean?
I know.
I would have been like immediately jumping on board with the whole. Like,
who do you got to side with? The one you are probably going to be most accountable to. Like if he had said, "Oh, they're just drinking club soda, Frankie."
Yeah. Like, we should also know that Cheech is the one who flips too. So
yeah, that's true.
That might be. He's ready to turn on anyone at any time.
Yeah, the original line was, "Well, what are they drinking, Cheech?" Champagne cocktails. Whole lot of champagne cocktails, Frankie.
Why does Frankie feel the need to pretty it up? He doesn't just say champagne.
Oh, it's great.
He says, why does he need to say champagne cocktails?
I love it. There's no reason for it. It's so great. It does make it more fancy.
It does make it more fancy. Yeah, so maybe that's part of it.
Yeah, it's a big step up. Champagne to champagne cocktail. I don't even know what's a champagne cocktail.
Like it's like anything where you like a mimosa, I guess.
Yeah.
There's probably some evening version of a mimosa. I don't know enough about the...
Well, then maybe champagne is fancier than a champagne cocktail. Because the champagne cocktail is you're cutting the champagne.
Yeah, I mean, I would think you would not want to use good champagne in a champagne cocktail.
So Frankie, thinking quickly, wanted to kind of
Soften it
a little bit. He was like, "Oh my gosh, I can't go full champagne cocktail. I'll get kicked out of here. I'll be kicked back to the lobby."
Wait a minute. Cheech is trying to soft pedal it?
No.
Or
No, Cheech just said, "Hey, champagne," and Frankie was about to just say champagne, but he's like, "Oh, that's too
she's like,
insulting."
champagne, cocktails, champagne style drinks,
Champagne style beverage,
sparkling wines, not premium champagnes, mind you, but middle grade champagnes.
Yeah, the California stuff.
It's
Centani, by the way, everybody. Centani. It'd be true if my father was still alive. Connie's still there. She's like, "I need money." She keeps interjecting.
Merle says, "Can I stay too?" It includes
Everyone
me.
is there. Oh, that'd be funny. Every time you go to see Michael, it's like the Tonight Show. You stay there.
Slides down a seat.
Yeah, everyone is there. So everyone is witnessing this whole conversation.
The senator is all the way at the end.
Oh, yeah. And he's still like, "I don't like their kind." He's still grumbling about that.
Which part would, if the senator were still in the office the entire time, which part would have been more upsetting? Would be more, shocking to him? The Connie part or the Frankie Five Angels part?
That is awesome. Great question. Well, I guess the Connie stuff has to do with family.
Right.
And he sees, I guess the Connie thing affirms what he believes about Italians. Right?
Well, I could see it both ways. I could see it being like, well, what Mikey's saying, like, I'm not going to put up with this. I'm not going to, permit you to treat yourself this way. So Mikey is trying to be the good, I think he is doing what the Don would have done.
Yeah.
I don't think Vito would have encouraged her to be booking travel agent plans all over the place. So champagne cocktails. Something else I was going to say about Cheech, but I feel like him saying cocktails, I think he thinks that makes it fancier.
Yeah, I do too.
Because he's an old school guy. So cocktails sounds so like
so
tuxedos and
high up in the Sierra. Next time I'm high up in the Sierra Mountains, I'm going to drink a champagne cocktail.
It probably impacts you more because of the elevation.
Yeah,
I mean, there's less oxygen. So
that's why they cut it with juice and things.
Oh, that's funny.
If you were to drink straight champagne and it high in the Sierra
so
Mountains,
maybe Cheech thought it was straight up champagne, but then he knew Frankie knew it wasn't just straight up champagne.
I think
he was like, "Oh, Cheech, the champagne cocktails." Obviously, is what he meant to say.
I think Cheech is so buzzed from drinking champagne and the overnight flight. He's not used to the elevation, so he's just like, "Oh, champagne." That was no heart attack, even though it was a heart attack. He's the original conspiracy theorist. Cheech.
It's true. So let's see what else. So then he says, then there's the part about my family doesn't eat in...
He scolds Frankie for saying my family. Quote, my family.
Yeah.
Mikey says, your family.
Yeah.
Your family's still called Corleone and you'll run it like one.
Right.
Yeah. See?
Yeah, it's a good
but then Frankie comes back.
Good, yeah.
And says, I don't eat here. I don't eat in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
I don't eat.
It's all in Sicilian.
All in Sicilian.
Yeah.
I don't eat in Miami with Hyman Roth.
And I'm going to call forth the overdub alert.
Really?
Overdub alert. Overdub alert. Overdub alert. Overdub alert. Overdub alert. Overdub alert. Overdub alert.
That part where he says Con Hyman Roth to me sounds so dubbed.
Wow.
It sounds really super. Did you ever go back and listen to the harmonica solo over Rocco's?
Oh, we talked about it so much.
Well, that's it for now, everyone. Unless you want some more of the show, you can go to godfatherminute.com/support and hear the second half of the program. We rate it. We talk about the musical as usual.
And we talk a lot more about Frankie Five Angels.
A lot of Frankie Five,
We really get into the champagne cocktails.
I would go so far as to say Frankie Seven Angels. That's how much we talk about it. It's two more than normal. All right, so godfatherminute.com/support. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.